Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Career Exploration and Planning online workshop, where we'll help you to discover work that fits and works for you. I'm Brittany Cheetah, and I work at CareerForce in St. Cloud. Co-facilitating with me today is Marnie Kerfman. Marnie, will you please introduce yourself and let everyone know what you'll be doing today?
Sure can. Welcome everybody. I am Marnie, as Brittany said, and we're coming to you here from St. Cloud, and I am going to be keeping a good eye on the chat box today for your questions. Please address your questions either to everyone or to all panelists. And do remember that Brittany will be sending you a follow-up email tomorrow with all of the slides and her speaker notes. So if you'd like to take notes, that's great. But otherwise, you can sit back and relax and just really listen and take it in and put your questions in the chat box. And you'll get that follow-up tomorrow. All right, Brittany, take it away.
All right, thank you. Whether you're looking for your first career, a new career, or a better career, it all starts with career planning. It is important to understand that there is no perfect career, but there is a fitting career for each one of us. Career planning is a very important step and is necessary to get you thinking about what careers you may enjoy or want to pursue. Career planning also helps you to focus in on industries and employers that may be a good match for you. By taking this step, you are improving your overall job satisfaction and retention. Knowing what you want means knowing who you are. With over 20,000 different job titles and over 950 occupations, career planning will help direct you to careers that fit your interests, skills, abilities, motivations, personality, and attitude. So today we will be talking about a couple of different things to help you get started. We will be explaining the importance of career planning and why it should be one of your first steps in a job search. We'll provide you with websites containing assessment tools to start the process of collecting information that will help you make career decisions. We'll identify the data tools you can use to find out which jobs are currently in demand. And finally, we'll help you to outline a plan of action for yourself. If any of you in the workshop today are claiming unemployment insurance, please know that today's workshop does meet the career exploration class that may be on your work search plan. After today's presentation, log into your unemployment account and log today's date as your completion date for that activity. Now, as Marnie mentioned, feel free to write down some notes if you would like, if you're a note taker. Otherwise, if you prefer to kind of sit back and relax and just absorb the information, that's okay. We will be sending out the presentation slides and speaker notes along with some additional follow-up materials tomorrow to help you get organized. So let's start off by acknowledging that we live in a very different world today than we did even 1 year ago. Places are constantly changing and adapting to the world we live in now. And now, more than ever, you must take charge of your career, as employers cannot always guarantee job security, growth, opportunities, or promotions. Simply, we are the ones that must navigate this journey. Along this journey of career planning, you get to discover your interests, strengths, and motivations. You also get to discover what brings out the best in you, and how can you apply that when making future career decisions. Employers look for employees that have a strong sense of who they are professionally. Career planning will allow you to focus in on an industry and an occupation. This will create a plan for a more targeted job search moving forward. The more reasons you have for entering a field will improve your work satisfaction and retention within a job, and long-term a career. The reasons for entering a particular field will be different for everyone, but they can be found by doing research, taking assessments, or by taking a look at your natural talents and skills. Think to yourself, what do you want or need to get out of your employment? Besides the obvious, we all need the pay, we all want the benefits, but what else? What are you looking for? Are you looking for job security? Are you looking for recognition, excitement? And in your day-to-day activities, do you prefer routine or variety? Do you want to work within a team, or do you prefer to work individually? What I suggest you do is create a list for yourself of your wants and needs from your next job. I encourage you to sit down and list out those wants and needs in your next employment. Once you've written down your wants and needs, go back through your list and prioritize them. What is important to you, all the way down to what is least important. This will help you literally see what traits you should be seeking in a career. That visualization really helps a lot of folks. When making your list, I suggest to look at your past jobs. What did you like or what did you dislike? Did you like or dislike the hours, the pay, the commute? Did you like the size of the company? Were there growth or education opportunities? What about the work culture itself? Your relationship with coworkers, the environment, or how is the family work-life balance? Analyze what's important to you. Consider what skills you want to continue using moving forward. Would you believe that most people spend more time planning a trip than they do career planning? It's true, but why do you think that is? Go ahead and tell us in the chat box why you think most people spend more time planning a trip than they do planning a career. Why do you think that is? Do you think it's intimidation, the simple time it takes? Go ahead, I'll give you a minute or two here to enter your thoughts into the chat box. Trips are more fun, absolutely. It's short term. You're going somewhere fun to relax. It's creating an adventure. Traveling is an adventure. Career planning is long term. Absolutely. You're focusing more on something that you want. There's less consequences and mistakes aren't as intense with planning a trip. Excellent. And I agree with all of those. Job searching takes time and career planning even longer. Give yourself plenty of time and try not to measure your progress against others. Remember that question as a kid? Are we there yet? We all get anxious and tired along the journey and can't wait to get to that final destination. So it's very important to take care of yourself and remind yourself that these things take time. No matter your profession, there is always more to learn and more roads to travel. So how do you start? Let's begin with what's important to you. Sometimes you have all the pieces to the puzzle right in front of you. You just have to figure out how to put it all together. It is an ongoing process of self-examination, discovering your life's purpose and goal setting and resetting. Career planning can be scary for many, but it is necessary to get you thinking about careers that you might enjoy and that give you personal meaning. An interest assessment can help you learn which careers might be the best fit for you. Self-assessment is a process of collecting information about yourself. First, you collect information about your existing knowledge, preferences, and your values about work. Second, you then analyze what you found by breaking it down into manageable and usable chunks. 3, you prioritize those and determine what's most and least important to you. Fourth, of course, you'll then need to evaluate your skills against an employer's desired skills. And finally, you'll make some decisions. These decisions need to be timely and can sometimes involve tough choices, but those choices can be the most rewarding ones that you make. A reminder here that you'll need to take risks during career planning and job search. You'll need to talk to people, ask for help, and meet new employers. Self-assessments can help you discover what you like or dislike and what you're good at. Overall, assessment results can get you thinking about specific careers you might enjoy. If you take, if you've taken assessments before, do you remember that your likes and dislikes can change over time? An assessment won't tell you whether a job will make you happy or satisfy you. An assessment is a guide that provides information to help you make decisions. We recommend you take more than one assessment before making a decision, especially if an assessment produces results that you don't necessarily agree with. Most importantly, pay attention to the work values and skill sets the results point to. Tell us in the chat box, what kind of assessments have you taken and what did you learn from them? This might have included a personality assessment, an interest assessment, work values, or aptitude. So go ahead in that chat box, tell us if you've taken an assessment before and what kind was it, and even what did you learn from that assessment. Myers-Briggs, a self-assessment, and skills assessment. There are many different assessments out there. What color is your parachute? And Myers-Briggs. So let's talk a little bit about the assessments that are available to you now, and we'll introduce you to a couple of those sites that we recommend right now. Give me 1 second here to switch over, and it logged me out. So the first one I want to show you is the CareerForce site and some assessments that are on there. Just give me 1 second to log in here. So in order to access these assessments, you do have to create an account and sign in to CareerForceMN.com. And here we're looking at that home page. And from this home page, you're going to click on Change Your Career. All right, give me 1 second here, folks. I apologize. There's a slight technology problem. All right, fantastic. So I'm told now that you all can see what I am sharing. So what we're looking at here is the CareerForce MN website. And this is the home page that we're looking at. So to get to those assessments, you will need to click on For Career Seekers and then right down here under Change Your Career. On this page, if you scroll down a little bit, you will see Match Your Current Skills to Future Opportunities, which once you are logged into the site, you will then see these 5 little cards which provide those assessments for you. We're going to take a peek at some of these assessments, and the first one here is called a Skills Matcher. I want to tell you a little bit about how this one operates. And so with this Skills Matcher, it's going to try to identify some careers that you might be good at or interested in based on how well you do different skills. And so you'll see here there are 5 different pages, and it will tell you, I think there's about 10 questions per page, so roughly 50 questions. It will give you an example of a skill, and then you go through and rate these skills on how well you can do that skill. And it will give you an example. So let's look at number 3 here, body coordination. Are you a beginner? Can you get in and out of a vehicle? All the way through, can you perform a ballet? Perform ballet choreography? Or do you fall somewhere in the middle? So go through all 5 of these pages, answering the questions, rating your different skills. You'll see not only does it give you the skill, but it kind of clarifies or defines what it's asking of you and provides those examples. Once you go through all 5 of those pages, it will give you a list of careers that you would be either good at or enjoy based on how you've answered those questions. The next assessment you will come across is it's called an interest profiler. And just keep in mind, you do have to be logged in to CareerForce to see these cards. So how this assessment operates is that this one is 6 pages. And you go through and rate these different activities on how well you like doing that activity. So not how good you are at that activity, how much you enjoy doing that activity. So looking at this first one here as an example, building kitchen cabinets. Do you absolutely dislike building kitchen cabinets, or is it something you really enjoy? You go through and rate. This one has about 60 questions to it. And again, at the very end of this assessment, it will then bring back careers that you will either like or be good at based on what you've put into this assessment. One thing I do encourage people is try to not answer too many unsures throughout your assessment. That will be too hard for the algorithm to give you more precise results. So really stray away from too many unsure answers. A couple here and there are just fine, but too many will bring back too many results that aren't very specific to you. With this one, I also like to mention to people that keep in mind that it is how well you like doing that activity, not how good you feel that you are at that activity. So the example I give is that I really enjoy singing, I really like it, but I'm not very good at it. So if singing was one of these interests here, I would mark that as strongly like. Even though I'm not good at it, I like to do it. So just keep that in mind with this assessment here. The next card you come across is find a career based on experience. So what this one is trying to do is give you other options that you may have based on something you've done in the past. So for example here, as you can see, you can put in your past work experience. So let's say in the past I was a graphic designer, and there it auto-populates. I can go ahead and select that. Once you click on add work experience, it will generate some results for you. Similar careers and how well do they match up with your previous position. So basically that gets you thinking a little bit about what else can you do with those skills you already have. Thinking outside of the box. Going back to those 5 different cards, the other 2 is that if you've served in the military or have military experience, you can search, every CareerForce has a local Veterans Employment Representative, and there are special or certain opportunities out there that will hire veterans. So you can definitely look into that card if you have military experience. And then the final card there is View in Demand Careers. And we're going to take a closer look at that here in a minute. And Marnie, I see that you have popped up, which means there are some questions. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right.
So could you go back to the skills matcher for a second, and let's just kind of talk out one of these situations here. So someone
Sure.
very rightly said, if their example under the beginner, skilled, or expert area is something that you've never been exposed to, how could you mark anything other than unsure? And I actually just went through this with a family member last night, and sometimes it's about, kind of really concentrating on the why behind the question. So let's go to chemistry. How well do you know chemistry? Most of us have had to clean our house at some point with a chemical item, or understand what reacts with vinegar if we're using that or something. But on the expert side, develop a formula for a safe cleaner. That's pretty advanced. But if we really think we don't know anything about chemicals or cleaners, we can try to relate that more towards what we've been exposed to. And in the interest side, again, if you focus on what they're asking about, that item on the left, and if you can think of something other than that particular example that they've given. And Brittany, maybe you can explain this better.
No, I think you've explained it well. And really, I guess the only thing that might have to add to that is I'm sure that we have not all been exposed to all 50 or 60 of these items in the past. So maybe consider, are you confident in your ability to do that activity, even though maybe you've never been exposed to that activity before? And I mean, truly, if it's something that you aren't sure that you could do and something that you've never been exposed to, then that's just fine to put, inexperienced or unsure. That's fine. I just discourage you from doing it for every last item mentioned.
Right, right. We for a time here, while we've worked here, had seen groups come through and do similar type tests or assessments. And some people would just mark straight down the middle, and then obviously what it shot out for results was not very good for them. So that's why we warn you of that. One more question before we move on, Brittany.
Sure.
What if what you have done for the last 20 years is not on the list?
I would say that's okay, because what this list is, or any of these assessments are trying to generate are just give you options or other possibilities. But, if you've done something for the last 20 years and you know that you want to continue doing that, there might not be a need for these assessments. But if you're looking to get out of whatever you've been doing for the last 20 years, then take one of these assessments. And the purpose of these assessments is to kind of broaden the horizon and figure out what else can you do, or what else might you be interested in moving forward. So that would be okay if what you've been doing for the last 20 years isn't mentioned on these assessments. That's almost the point of them. Good. Anything else? All right. So then the next assessment that I want to mention is on a website called Careerwise. Now, this website is Minnesota based, and so what's great about that is oftentimes when you're looking at career exploration websites, those are national websites. So the results, the statistics that you get back from those websites are nationally based. That's where this one is different because it is Minnesota based. And so all the results, the statistics, pay ranges, typical education levels that will come back in your results will be from Minnesota. So looking at the assessments on CareerWise here, we're looking at the homepage. Right under Explore Careers, there's a little tab that says Assess Yourself. And when you click on that, it will give you some information about what is an assessment, but under this Take an Assessment tab, you will notice that there is a variety of assessments that you can take. The one I encourage people to use most often is the first one up here called the Interest Assessment. And with this one, once you click Get Started, it's similar to the other where you will go through and you will rate how well you like or dislike an activity, and again at the very end give you suggestions of careers that you would be interested in. Going back to the Take an Assessment tab, there's another interest, but that's for Minnesota careers, so a little bit different. And here, the nice thing about this interest assessment is there's an online version, a printable version, or an interactive PDF. So if you're someone that doesn't necessarily want to fill out all those little radio buttons on the online assessment, it does give you the option to print it out. But the goal of all of these assessments is the same, is it's trying to show you what you might like to do or what you would be good at moving forward. Just broadening those horizons to, you know, possibly something you haven't considered before. All right. So now going back, give me 1 second. Yes, Marnie, are there more questions?
Sure are. Well, there's a discussion going on in the chat box,
Okay.
and so I thought we should address this.
All right.
A lot of folks are talking about how you need to plan to work for many more years if you are changing your career and paying for an education to change. So I guess maybe addressing the idea that you can do a career change without a lot of extra education, you know, without going back to getting a degree or something.
Absolutely. And here, just in a moment or two, we're going to take a peek at another website where it will show you, it will compare skill sets between your last occupation and a potential future occupation. So just hang tight. We might get to answer that question in the upcoming slides. And it started me over, so 1 minute. All right. So the next, all right, again.
Thanks for hanging with us, folks. We can see the jobs in demand during COVID slide.
All right, so when you've identified which skill sets are important to you, you'll need to do some research on the current demands in the workforce. You'll want to make sure job prospects are bright for the path you choose. Many employers are hiring right now during the COVID-19 pandemic, and they want to connect with people looking for work right away. You'll see the top 30 jobs in demand in Minnesota right now on CareerForce under online tools. And if you select jobs in demand during COVID-19, it will give you the list of the top 30 jobs that are in demand right now in Minnesota. Each job includes a description with a link to an occupation, giving details, including a short video, general wage information, and job searches to get you started finding open jobs. So at this point, Marnie, are there any more questions before I move on to the next?
Just a good comment here
Okay.
that someone was able to sign up for courses through Coursera while that deal was going on. Coursera had partnered with the Minnesota Department of Employment and Economic Development to allow Minnesotans to take some free classes. While we're on this topic, I will encourage you to search for some free classes out online. There's a lot of them out there. One that we give out a lot is GCF Learn Free. I can put the link in the chat box for that, and we can send it out with your follow-up materials. There's also North Star Digital Literacy. And then for a wider variety of things, because honestly, those two really focus more on technology. But if you want a wider variety, you can use lynda.com through your library card. So if you don't have a new library card, definitely contact your local library and make sure you get that updated or get a new card. And then using your library card, you'd be able to access those classes from home from your computer. If you have any questions about that, just let us know.
Awesome. Thank you. So remember this, an average job seeker has 500 to 800 skills. These include your soft skills, job-specific skills, and transferable skills. Using the skills most important to you increases your job satisfaction and retention. To assist you in thinking beyond your current or previous job titles, here's another tool that might help you imagine a different path for yourself. So what this website is called My Skills, My Future. And just let me know if you're unable to see my screen, Marnie.
Everything looks good.
Awesome. 1 second.
And just while you're maneuvering there,
Sure.
I'm going to field this one question.
All right.
Someone asks, what are soft skills? Well, that's a great question. Those are skills that we kind of pick up along the way that are more human-based. They're the opposite of your technical skills or your hard skills. So perceptiveness, customer orientation or customer service, time management, skills that are really your own personal skills of keeping track of your own work and yeah, people skills, someone says.
Yeah, I always define soft skills are the skills that describe you as a person. You're a team player, you're punctual, you're kind. So the skills that describe you as a person are soft skills. Very good. Anything else before I continue, Marnie?
Nope.
All right, so what we're looking at now is a website called myskillsmyfuture.org. And I always say it's got kind of a silly title to it, but it really is a good website. This is where I point a lot of people when, let's say you are that person that you've been doing the same thing for, years and years and years, but you're over that gig, you're ready to move on, you're ready to find something different, but maybe you don't want to go back to school. You don't have the means to go back to school or just not an interest to continue your learning at this point, and that's okay, you don't have to. But what this website does is it shows you what else can you do with the skills that you already have. And so as an example here, let's say I've worked in human resources for quite some time. You plug in your past job title, or maybe even a current one if you're still working, and it will bring back the results. So it shows you here, let's say since I just put in human resources, we all know there are different roles within human resources. So to narrow those results, you can check the list under the drop-down menu and select which is the closest to what you've done. And it brings up the results. Here, it shows you the best matches. You can look for jobs, and you can narrow those results using the search bar up top, the typical wage, and the typical education level. So let's say I'm looking at making a slight change to a labor relations specialist. It says it's a close match. Although I'm not familiar with that position, I can read more about it, but more importantly, right here it says compare skills. You can click on compare skills, and it will show you visually as well as give you little descriptions of where the skill sets are different between the two occupations. So looking through here, it will give you a graph on which skills might need to be updated or even possibly learned in order to make that career transition. So this literally lays it out for you. So I think that was related to a question we received a little bit earlier is, you know, maybe I don't want to go back to school. I'm just looking for a little bit of a career change. I don't want to do the same thing that I've been doing forever and ever. I need something different. So that is what this website will show you. Yes, Marnie.
So here's a good, for instance, someone says, I've worked in theater and costuming and costume rentals, and those careers in technical theater are rarely on the list. Would you suggest just randomly picking something else, or how would you go about that?
Yeah, so let's say you search for that and it is not on the list. Select whatever you feel is closest. That's your best option to show you other careers that would be similar. Select whatever is closest, whatever you feel is closest, not necessarily whatever the program feels is the closest. Very good question. And then I also see there that there is a dislocated worker program, the Minnesota Dislocated Worker Program. That's absolutely correct. If you qualify for that program, you may be able to receive some financial assistance to go back to school if you choose that path. And Marnie, did you have something else? I saw you popped in.
Nope, I was just going to plug the Dislocated Worker Program, and I will put that link in the chat box as well.
Awesome. Another thing that I encourage people to use this My Skills, My Future website for is that if you have been doing one occupation for years and years and years and suddenly find yourself unemployed, it can be very difficult to think, well, gosh, I don't even know what job titles to search for on these job boards. My title was pretty rare. So that's also what this website can help you with, is show you other titles that may be a good fit for you, where your skill sets can be applied. So finding those titles to search for is also beneficial and something you can utilize this website for. So before we proceed, if there's any other questions about any of the assessments, we can answer those as I hop back over to the PowerPoint.
Let's see. I'm getting all my links here together to get you back in the chat box, but remember, again, we will be sending that out. And if we do have time at the end, maybe we can do some experimental searching on one of the sites. Someone suggests to this person from the theater, maybe trying something like apparel designer. Yeah, you could definitely try that, or retail sales, something like that. And if we have time today, we could certainly try that live here. All right, Brittany.
Absolutely. I did see a question snuck into the chat there about how do you connect to the Dislocated Worker Program? And what you're going to want to do is contact your local CareerForce location. And I can ask Barney, if you will, please put in that link to find the location nearest to you. And once you contact your local CareerForce, give them a call, send them an email, and they will provide the appropriate contact for you. Great question. All right, so moving on. Have you heard the term networking before? Or maybe even the phrase, it's not what you know, it's who you know? That phrase is referring to networking. We may not realize it, but we network every day. We ask others about a good place to eat, a good movie to see, a reliable childcare provider, or a trustworthy mechanic. Expand your support network by starting with people you know and people in your industry. Networking gets the word out. Word of mouth is still the best way to get a job. It lets people know you're ready, willing, and able to work, gives them specific ideas of the jobs that you're seeking. Examples of ways to start networking. You could try a local group like Toastmasters or community education class, civic groups, or even volunteering can help with networking efforts. One piece of advice, if you find yourself in a networking conversation or really just talking to someone about your job search, I would say one of the biggest mistakes that people do when they are trying to network is they say, I'm just looking for anything. I'll do anything. I'm willing to bet that you won't do just anything. So rather, give people a clear answer of what type of work you're looking for. Give them a specific field, a specific industry, or maybe even a specific job title. That will work to your benefit because in return, people will give you more quality leads to follow through on, as well as you are more likely to come to mind if they hear of something in that field. And unfortunately, for the folks that say, I'm just looking for anything, I'll do anything. Well, leads are passed along to them. However, usually for the folks that say, I'm looking for anything, those leads fizzle out real fast because the job seeker then tells their networking connections, it's not really what I'm looking for. I don't want to do that. So instead, have that specific focus and let people know exactly what type of work you're looking for. It's going to work to your advantage in the long run. The best way to meet with a decision maker is to ask for a meeting. If you've never heard of an informational interview before, what they are is they are 15-minute appointments or meetings that you set up in order to gather and exchange information, career advice, and referrals. In these meetings, you're asking for information. You are not asking for a job. So please do not offer a resume or a portfolio. Bring a folder. It may have a copy of your resume or a business card just in case they ask for one, and a list of questions that you want to ask during that informational interview. With each meeting, you will multiply the size of your network. So here's the how-to. First, decide who you will meet with. Whether that will be a human resource manager, maybe somebody that works in a department that you're interested in working in. Again, this meeting is just to gather information, not to ask for a job. Secondly, how will you get their contact information? Will you call the business and ask for it? Will you seek it out through networking sites like LinkedIn.com? If you choose to call, you can definitely use a script if you feel more comfortable doing that, or possibly even sending them an email. Create a list of 5 to 7 questions to ask them. 2 most important questions at the end of every informational interview or networking conversation is, what advice do you have for me? And second, who else do you think I should speak to? I think that question should be the last question you leave them with is, who else do you think I should speak to? Go ahead and plant that seed. People genuinely want to help other people out as long as you've presented yourself positively and professionally, so feel free to plant that seed. That's how you're going to get those leads and referrals brought back to you. When you connect to a company offline, you become a real person. Referrals are the most effective to find your next job, as 80% of jobs are not advertised and employers like to hire people they know or have met. So on CareerForceMN.com, there is a section on there, I'll ask Marnie to put the link in the chat box, where you can look up different career fairs and networking events. There's a whole calendar of events listed on that page on CareerForce. So your first step to a successful job search is to have a solid foundation. That starts with career planning. The 5 steps to your next job. First, research about yourself. No matter how old you are or where you're at in your career, take time to consider what you like, what you're good at, and whether your job was making the best of your talents. Research and think about reasons for selecting your line of work and skills you have to offer. Also research and think about, what is the lowest wage you're willing to accept? How long can you survive without working? And how far do you want to commute? And are you willing to relocate? Second, research the labor market and specific employers. I encourage you to identify your top 10 employers. Again, literally writing out a list of those employers. Then, network. Try to reach out to or connect with 5 to 10 people a day, whether that's an email, a phone call. It's rare now, but an in-person conversation even. Contact and complete informational interviews. Research industry and occupations to gain a better understanding of job availability, culture, and company needs. Third, different job search tools. Gather them. Assemble your complete, detailed work history and create a master application, meaning one that lists everything you've ever done, job titles, phone numbers, job duties, just to have that as a reference tool. Complete a general or a master resume. Again, that includes everything you've ever done, and the benefit of having this master resume is then it becomes easier to create a targeted resume and or cover letter as well. Make sure you gather your references and create a reference sheet that you can pass out to employers. For the fine-tuning, treat job search like a job. 30 to 40 hours per week is what you'll need to do for a successful job search. Most people don't realize the time that all of this takes. Now, oftentimes when we suggest or mention the 30 to 40 hours per week is what you'll need to do for a successful job search, people usually are like, holy buckets, how am I going to spend that much time looking for a job without going insane? Well, that 30 to 40 hours is filled up with job search activities. So what I mean by job search activity is listening to the workshop and participating in the workshop today is a job search activity. Investing time in writing a resume is a job search activity. Research or reaching out to those different network connections that you have, again, a job search activity. So when we say 30 to 40 hours a week in job search activities, that encompasses many different activities. That is not just sitting on a job board searching for jobs online 30 to 40 hours per week. So I just want to make that clear, because a lot of times that 30 to 40 hours per week can be a little bit daunting to folks. But again, it's different job search activities to fill that 30 to 40 hours. I encourage you to keep good records. Writing things down helps you maintain your focus and your motivation. You can see your daily progress as well. Identify specific actions you'll take and the results you get. Practice networking, interview stories. And fifth, marketing. Your job search is a sales campaign. You are selling and marketing a product to employers, and that product is you. Remember, you're only one conversation away from your next job, and word of mouth is still the best way to get a job. So to summarize, think of career planning like planning a trip. While it's impossible to plan everything, it's always good to know where you're going or at least what direction you should be heading. Otherwise, it is too easy to get sidetracked or detoured. Break it down into your stops along the way, or steps in this case. Where are you going? Map out how you'll get there. What steps are you going to take to get from point A to point B? What is the best route? Depending on your industry, you may focus on using different job search tools and doing your research. Set an itinerary, time frame, or a specific date for yourself that you want to accomplish things by. Manage your time in order to complete these steps, and decide on what your final destination is. Make a strong commitment and a strong decision to make that your destination. Every journey starts with a single step. No matter how long that journey, we have to start somewhere. I encourage you to set goals for yourself. Create a plan for achieving your short and long-term career goals. Make sure your goals are what are called SMART goals, and you may have heard of this method in the past. Your goal should be specific, meaning what specific activity or job goal do you want to accomplish? Is your goal measurable? So by what means are you going to accomplish this goal? Is it attainable? How is it relevant? And have you put a time stamp on your goal? The benefit of putting the date or the time stamp on your goal is it gives you a deadline to strive for. And I highly encourage you to write these goals down. It's been proven that if you write down a goal, just even on a piece of scratch paper, you are now more likely to accomplish that goal. Why do you think that is? Put it in the chat box. Why do you think writing down your goal on a piece of paper makes you now more likely to accomplish that goal? What's the difference? Yes, it makes it more concrete. It helps you focus. You've now made yourself accountable, absolutely. And I encourage you to put that the list in a spot where you're going to see it every day to serve as that constant reminder and keep you focused, whether that's on the back door, on the fridge, next to your computer in an office. Write those goals down and put them in a spot where you're going to see it every single day. So please know that you do not have to do all of this alone. You can call or email your local CareerForce staff for support and accountability. That's what we're here for. So even if you need that coach along the way or just even an accountability partner, please reach out to your local CareerForce staff. We're more than happy to help you with that. Marnie.
Yes. We've even talked about this recently about how we might engage you to write down or maybe type up your goals. When we send you the follow-up material, you could always write us back with one of my goals I've made after this workshop is, and then give us that SMART goal. And by typing it out and sending it to one of us, that accountability factor is turned up in your head. So, all right, let's do some questions.
Let's go for it.
Okay, so where do you search for the physical requirements of jobs? Some folks can't do the physical kind of jobs that they used to do or that they were doing when they go back to work.
Great question. So I personally don't know of a resource where you can just search for jobs based on physical demands. So what I would encourage you to do is possibly use a site like My Skills, My Future, plug in maybe that past title, or if you have a goal of a new job that you want to pursue, type that title into My Skills, My Future, and use that option where it says compare skills. It will give you how those skills match up, one of which usually includes like physical demands of the job, so you can see if it's similar or different than what you've plugged in. That's personally how I would go about it, is using My Skills, My Future, and then the compare skills option. Marnie, do you have any other suggestions related to that?
Yeah, I'm going to type it into the chat box here.
Awesome.
onetonline.org would be my first go-to, and you may have noticed that, I think, not on one of the slides, but maybe on one of the websites that Brittany was on this morning. I love that site. I use it a lot for helping people with skill identification, or people who are changing careers like many of you maybe are today. Um, it just has such a comprehensive list of these knowledge, skills, and abilities that you've collected along your career path. But again, we can go back to the idea that it does mean some creative work as far as finding in this basically encyclopedia of occupations, where does your previous job fit? Like that costume design professional. So sometimes, especially when they add the word coordinator to a position, I think it can include like 3 different occupations altogether. And so we might go and grab some knowledge, skills, and abilities from 3 different occupation profiles just to fit one of your jobs. But to basically really talk about all the things that you learned, that you now have in your head as knowledge, that you have in your mind, body, and soul as the skills and abilities that you come away with. But I think those physical requirements you'll find in the abilities section of those occupation profiles. And again, if you have any questions, please let us know. We can help you out with that.
Absolutely. All right.
Okay. Someone says, what is the quickest, cheapest way to learn office computer skills?
Yeah, and for that one, I would revert back to the website Marnie mentioned earlier, the GCF
Yeah.
Learn Free. GCF Learn Free. That is a free site, but it has a lot of different programs on there, and it's all self-paced, self-guided, so you can do it at your own pace, and you can retake courses if you would like to, and then put those new skills to use and practice them. So I really encourage people to use that GCF site.
Absolutely. Another thing that I would encourage you to do is not only think about just how you can apply it in work, but personally, if you can use it on a daily basis. You know, I always use Excel as an example. If you don't have a spreadsheet at home that you're going to use day after day, you're going to lose those skills, right? But if you create an inventory of everything in the kitchen, in the cupboards, in the freezer, in the pantry, in the fridge, and you use something in that Excel spreadsheet to maneuver for shopping or baking or whatever you're doing, or you use even one of the check registers. They have a template in Excel for a check register. And I know not everybody like myself, you know, you don't do it all the time, or you don't do it every month, maybe when you get your statement anymore, but maybe you can put into this Excel and keep your receipts and use it that way. That way, at least your exposure to moving around a spreadsheet and seeing how these formulas work is something that you could see on a more regular basis. And then someone has put up, yes, doesn't Art with CareerForce do some Word and Excel classes? He sure has. And they are recorded out there for you to go and access. All right, so we can wrap it up. We've got about a minute left.
Excellent. All right, so this concludes the Career Exploration and Planning Discovering Work That Fits and Works for You online workshop. We highly recommend contacting your local CareerForce for any additional assistance with career guidance, resume writing, conducting mock interviews, and job search strategies. You can also access virtual resources at our virtual and interactive services page on the CareerForce website. Other than that, I thank everyone for joining us here today, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you.